I made a promise to the people of Burnley and Padiham that I would bring government focus and government investment. When I was elected in December of 2019, yes, it was to level up and give Burnley and Padiham the government focus they deserve, but it was also to ensure our economy is properly managed. When Labour was in government, they invested in the cities. This government invests in the towns too. And nothing embodies that more than the Levelling Up Fund and the Community Renewal Fund. These two funds will allow Burnley and Padiham to bid for tens of millions of pounds to regenerate our town centre, boost the high street, improve our infrastructure, and make our area a place that people want to live, work and invest. He will be aware that there are thousands of manufacturing jobs in my constituency reliant on the aerospace and aviation sector, and what they need more than anything else is aircraft in the air flying again. As a result of the pandemic, unemployment is increasing in Burnley, and that's impacting people who find themselves at work for the very first time, as well as young people who are looking to enter the world of work. So could I ask my honourable friend what steps the department is taking to support people in Burnley who find themselves in that situation?
As we follow the COVID-19 roadmap and move from response to recovery, it's vital that we offer our small and medium-sized businesses the tools and support they need to find new markets, grow their exports and spur on our economic growth.
So would my honourable friend join with me in congratulating organisations like Burnley College in my constituency, but also BAE Systems, which works across Lancashire, which encourages and teaches young people the value of STEM subjects. Throughout this week, businesses across Burnley and Padiham have reopened their doors to customers inside, from Usher and Molly Rigby's to Bellissimo and Real Cinema. Would the Prime Minister join with me in wishing them all the best of luck as they get back on their feet? And does he also agree with me that if we're to support local businesses in the long term, we need to create the environment and the opportunities they need to succeed, and that includes schemes like the Levelling Up Fund and the Lifetime Skills Guarantee?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, that's why we're investing, for instance, £3.6 million from the Getting Building Fund for the development of Pioneer Place. Burnley will also benefit from our High Streets Task Force. But what Burnley and towns across the country need more than anything else is passionate leadership, such as my honourable friend shows in championing their localities and getting the right investment in.
The Secretary of State will be aware that in Burnley Hospital we already have some advanced surgical robots that perform incredible care. Could I urge him to look as part of these reforms at how we can use sites like Burnley Hospital to become regional centres of excellence in areas like surgical robotics?
Yes, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Law and order is something that matters enormously to my constituents. In fact, I'd probably say to all of our constituents. And one of the things I hear all the time, not just from residents, but from the police as well, is frustration with the sentencing system. What people want to see is a sentencing system that puts victims and the community first.
I'm yet to meet anyone who thinks that we should continue with this automatic release of violent and sexual offenders halfway through their sentence.
But before we can do that, we've got to get through the next few months, as millions more vaccines get administered and businesses prepare to open. Gyms like FX Fitness Experience, salons and barbers like Jack Jones, and pubs like the Hapton Inn and Crooked Billy. They now have a date to reopen and the government's support to do it. It's really important that young people who are looking for that first break into employment don't pay the heaviest price from this pandemic, and that's why the youth hubs, including the one in Burnley, are so welcome, and I want to thank all the local job centre staff for the work they've done to set that up. Can I also particularly welcome that the National Cyber Unit is going to be based in the northwest of England, and in saying that, can I urge the Secretary of State to look sympathetically on the case of hosting that in Lancashire? We already have a really strong track record of supporting our armed forces, from the thousands of men and women who sign up from our county to manufacturing the Typhoon and hopefully the Tempest in the future.
And I can firmly now announce that Salisbury will be the new home of the National Cyber Force.
Access to a GP is now very patchy. Some of my constituents don't have difficulty going and getting a face-to-face appointment. Others find it almost impossible. We all accept that there are new ways of working and some GP appointments can be virtual, but that's not appropriate in all cases. And what we're going to see over the coming months, if not years, is if access to appointments doesn't improve, tackling the backlog, keeping pressure out of A&E and our ambulance services will only get worse. So could I ask what steps the Department for Health and Social Care can take to support and encourage GPs to get operating back to normal and get patients through the door. One of the issues that blights so many of us is potholes, and in my constituency that includes roads like Talbot Drive, Mill Hill Lane, Stockbridge Road and Burnham Gate. So would my right honourable friend agree with me that the best way we can tackle potholes across Lancashire is by supporting our excellent Conservative candidates in the local elections in May?
Mr. Speaker, my honourable friend's absolutely right to raise the issues of potholes.
In the last few days, I've been contacted by hundreds of constituents concerned by the proposed evictions in Sheikh Jarrah, the activities outside the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the events we've seen in the last 36 hours. With President Biden having asked US intelligence agencies to investigate the origins of the pandemic, could the Minister reassure me and the House that we will be playing our full part in those efforts and that we will be putting pressure on the Chinese government to make sure that they behave in a much more transparent way than they have done to date? Throughout this pandemic, we've seen the incredible work done by the armed forces to support us up and down the country. And in my constituency and across Lancashire, that's been helping with testing. And I do believe that every area should have an armed forces champion. In Burnley and Padiham, we have world-class skills and products, and when we export those, it's phenomenally successful. Give businesses the support they need if they're going to go and export for the very first time, so that we can push the Made in Burnley message even further around the world. Whilst many think of Burnley just as the town centre, we also have a number of picturesque green villages, including Wusthorne and Hapton. But unfortunately, in 2018, the Labour-controlled Burnley Council adopted a local plan which allocates significant parts of these villages and elsewhere to housing developments and more, often directly against the wishes of local residents. He will be aware that in Burnley, our local economy is reliant on the football club, which fills hotels, restaurants and bars. But could I also ask the Secretary of State to confirm that the government will do everything possible to protect top-flight football in this country, which provides so many economic benefits to communities, including in Burnley and Padiham? And I urge my right honourable friend to review drug sentencing, because often the sentences that go along with drug offences don't act as the real deterrent we need to make sure we don't end up with narco neighbourhoods across the country. Can I warmly welcome the announcement from the new Paymaster General, which will mean that laws in this country are made here in this Parliament, something that residents across Burnley and Padiham absolutely want to see. More than £11 billion has been provided to local authorities. That includes more than £50 million to Burnley Council. And that isn't to mention the extra £2 million that the Prime Minister announced as part of his shovel-ready schemes for Pioneer Place in Burnley Town Centre. I made a promise to the people of Burnley and Padiham